Let's see who's here. Let's see what's going on here. Put my green screen back up behind me. That thing's been moved for a while. Nakamoto, how's it going? Give me a second here. Let me turn my filter back on over here for this. Camera, filter. Yeah, almost looks better. Fixing a few things, guys. Oh, that's good. Top. See how that looks? Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. So what are we working on today? Let me cut a little more off the right here. Okay, there we go. That's better. All right. So what are we working on? Let me pull this up here. We are catching up on stuff that I have not been doing for quite a while. So let me pull up my events here. Switch over here. All right. So what are we working on? Tonight we'll do a little bit of automation stuff. I'm going to be working on probably the courses, getting in, checking the home lab, making sure the home lab's working. I mean, we have our normal kind of automation and stuff that checks on that, but maybe we'll check on that a little more. And then, yeah, just kind of hanging out for a little bit, see what's going on, and tell people about the Linux users group, all that kind of stuff. We've got to finish up the automation course this week. I had to change it out last week because we were out of town, me and the wife. And then we're going to start the Linux automation course. So if you guys go into events in the server, you can see all of these things, right? And there was some confusion on Saturday because people didn't check the events. I had canceled it on Friday, so so you guys know you can come in here and always see where the events are. But we'll start the Linux admin course and we'll end up the automation course. I've got a bunch of stuff. I might even work on some of it tonight. So lots of stuff to do. Oh, I got to get with Jared because he'll be coming on the 28th. Let me message him real quick. I'm gonna text him real quick and say still good for Saturday. Hold on, gotta go find Jared. And he's come and talked to us a few times. If you guys haven't met Jared before, he's come and talked to us a few times about he's a data architect for a pretty big company. They're called Zorro, and he does their Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics type stuff. So he's going to come and talk a little bit about that stuff. He's talked before. You can find his talks in the Discord on how to get into data architecture, kind of what Measure Slack is if you've never heard of that tool. It's a Slack that people talk about measuring data and data analytics and that kind of stuff. So kind of how we got into that. And then we'll be finishing up the automation course, so they're still going to do some more study groups. And then there's the writer's room if you want to get involved. Some of you guys, you hang out and you say, hey, I want to do this stuff, but I kind of want to also meet like a community. They're the guys who do all of the, actually, shoot, I don't even have this open at all, but the like the Prolog, if you go to our prolog.org site, right, which, man, I was going to stream last night when I got back, but my internet was down hard last night. But anyways, you can come in here and any of our courses that are up there, again, they're always free. And let's just click on one like the Linux automation course. The guys put together a really good set of books, and the books are all free. So you can go in here and you can say, hey, I want to get ready for the Linux automation or the Linux administration course. I want to do that course maybe when that's something you're interested in. You can come over here. Where do they have that? I thought it was right here at the top. Where is that? Here's the course books. Yeah. That's our repo. But here, you should be able to find the books, I think. Maybe I haven't looked at this in a while. I definitely haven't looked at this for a while, but I thought we had it right here. Where? Oh, here it is. Okay. A bit about Linux, participation in the course. Where's the... Here's the books. Okay. Yeah, I was losing my mind. Here's all the stuff for the books, right? Like, and these are all free. Anybody can hang out. Again, the guys have done an awesome job with this. So come in here and you want to learn about the syllabus for the course, like what's going on. This is the course that's starting next week, and it's going to be like Linux essentials, getting into the system. Then we're going to do storage and operating a running system. So that's really like the crux of admin work, these kind of things here. And then we get into some of the things that you're going to run into out in the world, and some of the things that you just need to know if you want to do admin work, right? Admin work, I think, is great because it leads into engineering type work. Leith, also, I saw you there. Hey, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I just needed to get on. I try to do, an hour. I'm trying to make sure I get on for like an hour a night or whatever. Me and the wife were just hanging out. We had dinner together, and then she has a book club with some of her girlfriends, so she's doing that. So I'm doing this for a little bit while I hang out with you guys. So yeah, anybody that wants to get into like Linux administration, these are the kind of things that I think that you should know, or at least have some familiarity with, if you want to get into that field. So, okay. So that's there. This is the book. If you want the books, here you go. I'll link this to you guys. Because I don't know, somebody might want it. So anyways, if you're in Discord, check the events. That's always important. And let me go, and I got to reconnect because I haven't had this thing connected since I was at home, or since I was last home, right? Connected back in here. As most of you know, I use a jump box in my environment. I like to do, by the way, in any professional setting, I also like to do jump boxes where I jump into a node. That node is where I do the bulk of my work. And then from there, I can jump into other sessions, right? And I can just use Screen or Tmux. Screen tends to be the one that I use, but I know a lot of people are big fans of Tmux. So I've got a detached screen session on here. I do a screen-R to reconnect. You might have to do the session ID if you had multiple screens, but I know that I only want to connect to this one. So then here is whatever I was doing the last time that I was on. Actually, it's funny. This is from a talk I gave with my college students recently. So I was showing them different tools, and I was going in, and apparently I'm in pam.d for a reason as well, probably because I was showing them around in here for different types of authentication. In fact, now that I think about it, this may have been even when we were doing our talk the other day. Yeah, so we were doing interview questions the other day when I was on, right? And we were like, what is PAM and how does it work in Linux, right? So we were doing different stuff, and anyways, this is my screen session is still whatever the last thing is that we were doing. So here I have my whatever environment I'm in, and interestingly enough, my environment is a little busted right now. All right. So let's change some things around here. Control A, Shift A, we can name this jump box, right? And then over here, we can be, this is in the Werewolf server. So I like to know where I'm at in my environment. Let's go back to root. In this node, like I said earlier, that I wanted to kind of check out the, what was going on in my home lab. I haven't been around. I haven't checked on things for a while. So some things I might do here is make sure that I have plenty of space. I do. We also added some space the other day for kind of like a little bit of a demo. So we do have extra space in here. I think this was getting up around 80% or so. So that's good. We know that we have Werewolf running, right? So we can see the systems that we have there. We have a bunch of Ansible here, and we can go hit all of our servers just to check their uptime, check the health of them. We have other ways in the home lab to check on what's going on in the environment, right? While that's running, we can let Ansible run real quick. That'll show us that a bunch of our nodes have been up. Some of our servers have not been restarted in quite a bit of time. And for you that have been around, you know that we do a stateless node setup. So if people are using nodes, we want to make sure that they're rebooting so that they always come up in a clean state for lab environment, right? But for right now, that's fine. That's, the system is what I expect it to be. The servers are up, the kind of things that I expect going. What else was I going to show you guys here? Or what else was I going to check right now when I was on this? I can come back over here. One other box that I need to make sure. Let's go to Jumpo 2. And in Jumpo 2, we should be able to become root. Now you might say, Scott, why didn't you jump over as root? Because P01 Jumpo 2 is actually my Bastion node. I probably should just rename it, but he's the Bastion node that people can connect into in the home lab. And you never allow root to be connected to by anything on the outside. You can do it internally, especially in like an air-gapped environment, and that's a little safer, but let's see if I can get into this. All right, so I'm over here. Let's see if there's any sessions. So nobody's connected in right now. You might say, what do you mean connected in? Well, we have a bastioning system where people can get into our environment. Let's go to Excalibur. I'll show you guys kind of what that looks like. And I'm just kind of going through some stuff that I maybe haven't gone over in a while because maybe some of you are like, you know, I haven't been around for this, or, you know, how does a lot of this lab stuff work that we have? So this is kind of a high level view of the way that we run our environment. And, you know, you come in from the internet, you come in as either admin or security or automation courses. All of it nowadays is going through the same Prolog user. So the Prolog user, you can register keys if you guys want to connect. That's all up in the Discord, right? If you want to figure out how to do that, it's pretty easy in the lab environment. You hop in through like any machine, you know, any way that you come in. And then you guys jump into the DMZ on P01 Jumpo 2, which is the .246 machine. Right, 246 right there. When you jump into that, you're presented with a question of where you want to go. You're locked in a jailed user environment. You get a simple little bastion.sh shell to live in, and you can drop into either the Rocky servers, the Hammer servers, or the Auto servers, right? And that's a process. If you were like, well, what can you show me what that looks like? Yeah, it kind of looks like this. Let me see if I can. I actually don't have a key for that. I can go put my key over there if I wanted to. That may be the easiest way to do this. Whoops. .ssh, right? What key do I have? Probably my cluster key. I think what key I would use. You might say, but you can't show your key. You can always show your public key, right? So I can go take this real quick. Home prolog .sh, right? In here. This is actually one, it's funny, this one gets moved around quite a bit. These are the ones that people add or remove. This is a process that Fisherman made. Now, I think, let's go check real quick. I think it doesn't affect anything up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop it up here so I don't break anything. And I'm gonna go, now that I've set that as my authorized keys, I should be able to just log right in. Oh. I have to set the key. Where is the... Oh, I. That's what it is. What was that? ID Prolog something. It wasn't cloud. It was the... Which one did I just pick? Oh, I might have turned those off. Yeah. I don't think I allow RSA. I think that's part of the problem. Yeah, putting the key on the rock. But you can always do the public key. Like, public keys are fair to show to anybody. Oh. No, that's not right. I did use the right user. I was thinking maybe I was being dumb. Oh, let's do this other thing real quick. Let's copy. Where am I at here? Should be. Yeah, that's actually the same. Okay, just take this off. I might have this password somewhere as well. I could also just reset the password too for him, but where's my key not working? We can check real quick. What's going on here? RSA Prologue. We may not allow anyways, it doesn't really matter. When he connects, go ahead and set the password for him. We'll just go with okay. We'll do this. Key won't work. That's fine. Not super worried about it. All right, so now I get connected in and I get dropped into the shell, right? And the shell, I have a few options. I can sit here and wait. And if I wait, you know, no hands on the keyboard, this system's going to kick me out because for 10 seconds I didn't do anything, so I got kicked out. I'm gonna take those V's off because it'll get kind of annoying. I'll take the keys off too because it doesn't really matter since I'm using the password now. But let's go ahead and log in real quick and I'll show you guys what it kind of looks like. And now I've got the admin course, the security engineering course, or the automation course. So let's say I wanted to go into, just say I was going to do the automation course, and I'd get dropped over into one of the auto servers. Now, as an auto server, I am the root user. I can do anything I want. I have, you know, full capabilities to SSH over into the target boxes that are specific. Oh, do I not? Oh yeah, I actually purposely didn't do that because people have to set up their. So I didn't give the access like that, but I gave the password. So if you're doing the course, I gave the password so that you could either set up your own keys, or you can use Ansible with the password authentication. So I remember I originally set the course up like that, so you guys could see it like that. So that was a thing that I kind of prepped for that. But anyway, so now when I exit out of here, I zipper all the way back out of the system. You don't ever stay in a Bastion or in a DMZ. DMZs are, well, Bastions are in DMZs, right? And you never actually live in the Bastion. You either come to these machines or you zipper all the way back out to your outside machine. That process looks like this for people that are like, well, what's a Bastion node? How does that work? Well, that looks like this here, right? So you come in as a user, you get dropped into a jailed environment down in var prolog chroot. You've got a very, very minimal set of commands that you can do. You can either do bash, curl, or SSH. Those are the only things inside of the user jail. The environment you drop into is actually a Bastion shell, so you don't even get a real shell environment. And then you have to pick the admin, the security labs, or the automation labs. Something I need to do, actually this is kind of a good thing for me to do while I'm maybe even sitting here tonight, is getting ready for these admin, the labs that are coming up and more people going to be in there.
Containers are just spicy croots.
So that is true. Admin labs here, I need to make more Rocky servers because if we're going to have a lot of people doing the course, most of what we do, and most of the reason I set the things up like we do, let me step back and kind of deconflict a couple things. For the admin course, I really want people using Rocky or RHEL. Those are the two types of Linux that I pretty much put in all types of systems. You could probably do Alma Linux as well, but I mean, in the Linux world, that's a big thing if you're trying to get work, right? Do something that's there. But if you're saying, Scott, I don't necessarily want to focus on RHEL or that, but I want to learn the admin stuff that you guys are doing, you can do almost all of our labs in Killer Coda on an Ubuntu box, right? You can go, if you guys don't know, you can go to Killer Coda and just hop right in an environment right now. If you've never been in a Linux shell, you can just go drop in these playgrounds, and we could just sit here and talk Linux all day in an environment that's just Ubuntu, right? Like, look, it just says right here, plain Ubuntu, and we could sit here and hang out and go, oops, I can make that real big, and we could just sit here and go, right? And we just talk pieces of Linux, right? And how this system booted and all the, we could talk about all these kind of things. But when we do the admin course, I try to focus on the RHEL side of it, because that is where a lot of the work is, right? There is Ubuntu out there, right? Like Canonical has really made that a more viable OS, and somewhere around 2020, I heard that it was finally allowed in like government systems. I work in a lot of U.S. government systems. By the way, when I say government, I mean U.S. government. I work in a lot of those systems, and the only thing I've ever built out there are RHEL, Rocky, and SUSE. Those are the only ones I've ever done. So. And by SUSE, I mean SLES, right? SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. Those are the only ones I've ever built for the government. But I do know that Ubuntu can be run in the government systems, right? So, but anyways, when I'm showing you guys stuff like this, when we're talking about the labs, pretty much everything in the audit or the admin course that we're going to be starting again is you could do pretty much all of it right inside of Killer Coda. It just wouldn't map one-to-one like on some of the networking stuff, like. You say, okay, I see that I've got this networking stuff going on. Well, where is this configured? Well, it's configured in a slightly different place inside of this than you might find it somewhere else. A treasure train, that's funny. Concur, we see hardened Ubuntu, Debian OSs, and Kate's environment. Yeah, it's definitely there, right? It's definitely there. I haven't gotten to build any of it in my little high performance computer part of the world. Yeah, RHEL is kind of the one that. Again, real quick, I should back up one more time. If you guys are doing like basic Linux and starting, I honestly don't think it matters. Like if you're just like, hey Scott, I want to learn how to do Linux and I want to do it professionally, I would say real quick for everybody, just get into any Linux. Just get your hands on it. And like people come in and say, oh, I use Arch Linux. Awesome. If you're going from like 0 to like 85%, I think Arch Linux, there's nothing wrong with it. If you tell me, hey, Scott, I've been doing Linux for 10 years and I'm really good at it, but I can't find work and all my resume is Arch Linux, I'd be like, maybe it's time to start using something that people use, right? That kind of stuff. Oh, and Chickode and Trevor Small. Hey, Trevor, I haven't seen you in a while. Hopefully this stuff is useful. He's over on the YouTube side. It says it's small, but I know that's not it. But yeah, so I'm hanging out right now. The wife went over to her book club, so I'm doing this a little bit before she comes back, and we'll try to get a little more stuff. And so anyway, so what I want to do here then today is we're kind of talking a little bit about automation and the system stuff, is I need to put together a few more of these. So I have some stuff to work on here that we could do, where I got to get unit 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh God, I got so many units to put together, right? And then to basically be done by this weekend. And then I really want to put together as kind of like a, I don't want to call it a bonus for Automation Labs. It will still be part of the automation course. It's just not part of the base course objectives. Is I want to have a lab where we set up a tool called Bacula, because most of you that do systems work know that we need to do some type of backups, and then kind of show like the ways that we do backups, right? We start with like a little poor man backup of us just having a script inside of cron tab, and then we move from there and we start to build out more until we get to kind of like an enterprise type tool like Bacula. And I want to show you guys how to deploy that with Ansible, and then also how to monitor it and that kind of stuff with a tool that sends out reports and these kind of things. And you say, well, yeah, couldn't I just always go check the web or check the command line and get updates? Yeah, you can do that, but it's also nice to report that stuff out to like a Slack channel or a Discord or something like that. So that's something I need to do as well. I'm going to be working on that probably this week, even if I work on it when I'm not streaming, strictly speaking. So that's something that I have to do or look at. If you guys do Killer Coda, by the way, you can do one environment at a time for, they don't charge you anything, which I think is an awesome value to people who, if you say, hey, Scott, I've done no Linux and I need to just get my hands on a command line, I would tell you this is one of the best places to start. Like if you don't have a lot of extra, you don't have money for a home lab, right? Especially early on in your career, you don't have a lot of extra capacity or compute on your system. You are using less capacity on Killer Coda than you are watching people on Twitch or YouTube. So it's, in my mind, it would be better to even just close down the stream and go do that if you had to choose between the two of them. And I just showed you a sandbox environment. Let me show you guys this. If you're not super familiar with Killer Coda, there's guys that want to teach you the CKS, the CKA, the CKAD. That's actually the main crux of this. And, here's Kim Woosterkamp's CKA trainer. Drop in here. And he's got all these killer shell environments for doing CKA. He also has, Kim, I know he did, for the CKS, he open sourced all of his videos and put them out right on YouTube. So all of the stuff about passing a CKS, you can do the labs right here. Like you can go learn how to do Falco, drop into an environment, and watch his videos at the same time. Oh, it thinks I'm in the other. Oh, because I'm still in this environment. You can't start more than one at a time, like I was just saying. So now I can go restart this one, and it should let me in there. But then once you, that might take a little bit of time, but it's pretty good. Pretty good site in general for free stuff. I have the Ansible stuff here. I have some HashiCorp stuff. My kind of stuff that I've kind of been putting together, and then so many other good things. Like I've been meaning to get in here and do more Argo, because Argo is supposed to be a pretty good workflow and CI/CD type tool. I just haven't gotten around to working with it, but people have their different Argo stuff. So, anyways, all right. What was the question over here? I was looking at Bacula, had difficulty collecting resource on it, so I dedicated time to learning about Restic. I had mentioned it before and mentioned tape backup capable. Yeah, I know for sure Bacula is. I don't know if Restic, what is that? Let's see what this is. I never messed with Restic. Interesting. I think we did we did talk about this. I just I forget things easily. Especially if I've slept since then. Full semantic versioning, that's good. Let's go look at its docs real quick. I like looking at docs, and they have the read to docs.io, so that's good. You can set up a repository and then back up to the repository, which is always good. And do they have... Let's see. I think it's interesting that they have local... That is a good little... That's a good little setup of repositories. Treat something local. SFTP. Yeah, so you have different ways to move data around. What's the backend database for this? Is it a container, but there's also, you're gonna run some type of backend database, typically either like a Postgres or a SQL. I don't know if you know that, Trevor. As a tape archive, nice. Yeah, this is interesting little tool. I'll have to leave that open. Leave that in my to read. I always do that, and then I get inundated and I forget to go back and read stuff, and then I kind of lose it. But anyways, yeah, I kind of showed the Bastion process for people that haven't been around. And then, obviously this, by the way, Trevor's the one who put together a lot of this stuff here. Most of the course stuff for you guys that want to go look at that and see what's going on. Okay, so what do I need to do? In the Discord, by the way, and I don't think I've really addressed this much, but in the course discussion posts, we've done up to automation 14, but we haven't had any. There's no discussions, right? We hadn't had discussions back all the way to like, unit 7 even. This is one of the reasons I haven't been keeping up on the course so much. Is there's only like I really only have 2, maybe 3 people that have even been participating in the automation course, so I haven't really been taking it super seriously. So I know some of you guys have worked on the course a little bit, but there's definitely we definitely have more work to do there, both on my side and on the people that want to participate in the course. If we want to finish any of those, I'm really only tracking like maybe 1 or 2 people who are actually finishing that if we're talking about that seriously. Anyways, so where were we at here? I'm just talking a whole bunch. Let's change this one. Right, so it's P01 jump 02. Or another way that I sometimes call this node is Bastion, right? And then I can check the Bastion quickly if we're looking for connections through here or whatever. Nobody's connected into the Bastion right now. Nobody's come in as a Prolog user right now. So if I had to do any maintenance on this stuff, I could, because I wouldn't be worried about anything wrong there. Now, I do need to check over here. Let's check for... Ah, shit, we'll just cat it. What do I have in here for the... I think I have Proxmox in here. Yeah, so 203, right? So... yeah, so let's go connect in here. Let's go see what's going on over here. Oh, maybe this is a shorter one. Yep, shorter one. All right. So my Proxmox environment doesn't really have anything going on in it, but like I was mentioning, I'm gonna have to build more of these Rocky servers out. That's a super easy little process for us to put together to get a whole bunch more of those. Really, it's just gonna be coming over here to Werewolf, and we'll add more of the Rocky servers. Like we only have 1, 2, 4, and 5 right now. And then we just have to map them back over here to the nodes as we build them. So building them, there's 2 ways. Obviously, we could just clone this one because this node is just sitting there down, or we could do it via Ansible and automation. And I have that over here. Our Proxmox stuff. So our deploy test can go and it can build these. We can also probably use it to clone them. These variables here, they come from the vault.yaml. So when we run this to build a node, we were just using this to test a single node before, but we can use it to build out all the Rocky boxes. And we could start doing that if we wanted. I don't know if I really want to start that right now, but we could do that. I definitely have to do it before this weekend. So there's a couple of things we need to look up. I need to go look up the... I have to generate some MAC addresses for that, because MAC addresses are arbitrary, but they do need to be locally unique. You need to have a locally unique MAC address, not globally unique. And you might say, why not globally unique? Because a MAC address never leaves your internal network. And within my VLAN 1, in my lab environment where this happens, they just have to be locally unique. As long as they're locally unique, everything else is fine on there. So let's go check some other stuff real quick. Let's look at see how our Grafana's doing. We haven't been in here in a while. And this is the older one. Let's go to 218. This is a newer one. We have 2 Grafana environments. Let's go down here and let's look at the... Whoops. Yeah, this is our lab environment. Check our logs. Security. Here's that one. Alright, so we can check real quick, make sure our logs look right. Now, we do still have a fair amount of users trying to get into our system. What was that command? Let's check real quick what that looks like. we do run Fail2Ban as kind of a intrusion prevention system, right? And you guys know the difference between detection and prevention. Detection would just be monitoring. Our detection, our intrusion detection system is this, right? This will tell us if users have been trying to log in and do ratchet shit in our environment, and they have. But our prevention system is over here, where it's actually making changes and locking people out, right? So there are banned IPs right now. There are things that have been banned, and then the total failures. Look at that. That's a lot of total failures of just systems trying to get into our environment. And they're constantly trying. This is just the last 6 hours over here. Constantly trying from everywhere. Mostly compromised grandmas and soccer moms all over the U.S. But we've mapped them out before to where all the IPs come from and stuff. And I did that as a project a while back to show everybody. Security, we've got connection out. Not like last night when everything was hosed. We could check the lab environment here. Let's check the lab environment for a little bit. And let's go to... Where are the... We want all of them. We don't want info, we want the lab. Yeah. So we want to look at the lab. We want to make sure all the lab servers are up. You can see them all there. Sometimes I show you guys that really, if you were going to turn this into a heads-up display, you would want to kind of shrink this, probably even down like this, so that it gives you everything about the system. And then there's a couple nodes, Auto 1 and Auto 2, that aren't really showing up correctly because they don't have the CPU usage. But all in all, I would call this a pretty healthy lab environment for me. We can come down here and we can look at different stuff that's going on if we wanted to zero in on any one node. But for now, yeah, we'll call that good. Okay. Cyber Olive Tree said, how do you install Fail2Ban on Proxmox? You don't put it, I didn't put it directly on Proxmox. It's actually on the jump box. So the jump box functions as a bastion, and that's where all the nodes connect into. So to put it on here, it's pretty straightforward install. In fact, I have a lab that shows you how to do it. Although again, we use Rocky in the home lab. And what I'm about to show you is doing it in an Ubuntu server. But that being said, what I just said about it being Ubuntu, largely irrelevant because the steps are about the same. So I'll show you guys. Here's where my scenario is at. Anyways, right here. I'll give you a lab. I'll give you a lab that shows you how to do it. Right. We do the lab if you want to do it. It should be right in. Did I do that under security? Fail2Ban with alerting. So Fail2Ban with monitoring. This will show you actually how to install it. I'll link it for you if anybody wants to do it with me. Because yeah, again, I didn't put it directly on Proxmox. I did it. It's got to be in line with the system that you're allowing the SSH connection through. So in my case, it's on my jump box. My jump box that's functioning as a bastion node. And I'll show you real quick. Through pfSense by putting its gateway through pfSense. I was wondering if that's not. I think that's probably fine for most people. Yeah. What I'm doing, I wouldn't call what I'm doing dangerous. I'm just, the way that I'm doing it's a little different. Most people would prefer to secure at the network layer, and they would never expose a port 22 like I did. I exposed 22 because I want anybody to be able to connect from our community or from Twitch or YouTube. People that are wanting to connect to the lab can connect into our lab environment. For anybody that needs that, you come right here to our Discord. You drop in the Prolog lab environment, and there's a set of commands here that'll show you what to do. But you just do an ! add key, and you give your public SSH key, right? And it'll add your key, and it'll go drop that key in. So I can find that key for Tone here directly in the system, and he can remove his keys if he wants. People do it. You can only remove your own key though because it's reading your username. But yeah, anybody on the internet can connect to our lab environment. But if you do Killer Coda, you're connecting into their lab environment. And here's what it says. Your team is testing Fail2Ban to protect the SSHD process on your server. You've decided to build a proof of concept of the system and tie it into your Grafana monitoring. Now, this is part of a larger course, our course that's free, which is back here for people that want to, if you're like, where would I find this free course? In the security course, we build these bastions out. So if somebody was like, hey, I want to know about that Linux security course, This is the syllabus here for that. This is what that one kind of looks like. We're not running this one right now, but the book is up for people that want it. Trevor, I missed it. Also, LXC containers and Proxmox work similar to VMs in that they allow for SSH connections and be configured to play. Absolutely, yeah, Trevor. I need to get in there and start working on. Like you probably noticed, my Proxmox is just sitting here. I've been running this thing since October. I just haven't built anything in it. Because it's weird. I go into build mode and then I go into just chill mode. I've been in chill mode probably a little bit too long, if we're being honest. But let's do some stuff real quick. So dpkg-l to list packages, grep for fail. Not going to see any fail to ban stuff, right? There's no fail to ban on the system. We're going to install fail to ban, which means, so if you can install a tool directly by just saying apt-y install or, DNF install, whatever, what's happening there is it's going out to your configured repositories that probably came default on your server if you've never modified them, and it's getting that tool. A lot of times in the rel side, like if I were to come over here and say DNF search all fail to ban, it's possible that fail to ban doesn't exist here, and then I either have to download and build it from source, or I find it in one of my I do find this in one of my repositories here. And since I know it's there, I can do one of my favorites, rpm-qi for fail to ban, because I know it's on the system, right? And let's just go fail to ban like this. And it shows me how it was installed, when it was installed. I installed it last year, where I got it from. So it should show, here's the source RPM that I actually used, and the version, right? It's got semantic versioning on it. I can see all these kind of things. I can even see the system that it was built on originally from the Fedora project, right? These kind of things are there. Hey, Robodom, how's it going? And we won't do the whole lab here, but I do want to see, now that it's there, I can see, okay, we've got fail to ban on the box. I've got a version, that version stuff. I always tell you guys, that's so important to know the version, because that's what you're going to be reporting up to security teams. That's what you're going to be keeping track of. Like the versioning of things doesn't seem super interesting until you're maintaining a lot of systems and they all have to be the same. Everything needs to be doing the same. Yeah, Robodom, you hopped on the other day right as I was getting off. So it's kind of funny. Also, Robodom, it's funny. I put some pictures up in the Discord, but we were down in Mexico when all that stuff happened on Sunday, and then we flew back. However, we were on the other side of the country, but normally we go to either Puerto Vallarta or Cancun, and we were in Cancun, and all that stuff went down in Puerto Vallarta. So that Costco, when we go do our wrestling camps down there, that Costco is the one we would go pick up our big cases of water for all of our camps and stuff. Yeah. So, hey Quartz, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I think also that you had hopped on earlier with your Prime. I didn't even acknowledge that. Oh no, Control Byte did actually. So Control Byte's the one who did the Prime. So I do appreciate that. You guys can use your Prime anywhere and use it here. That's kind of cool. Real quick, let me show you guys something. You can check your fail to ban client version. That's very important. It's also here in the numbering. So you just want to know what you're dealing with. And honestly, nowadays, it's way better than it was 20 years ago. But let's just acknowledge this one thing. When versions of tools are different and then you're looking at documentation, I'd say back in the day it was harder. Now I think it's most people are better at like their backwards compatibility and stuff. But like commands will change in systems. A good example of that is like I use a tool called Werewolf, and we used to do our images, and they used to be containers, right? But the container command is back. So if I had scripts and stuff that were checking stuff here, this would still work even though I'm using a newer version of Werewolf. But this isn't the way you do things anymore. You don't call them containers, we call them images now, right? And even though they are containers, we import them as images into Werewolf and then interact with them that way. So where I'm saying that, again, most tools are pretty good nowadays. But not everybody's running a big shop with a bunch of people, so not everybody's gonna have as much time to make sure that everything's backported and that kind of stuff. So versioning of tools when you're looking stuff up on the internet is very important. And you might say, oh, isn't that better with AI? No, I go and I read AI stuff pretty regularly, like when you do a Google search or something and the thing comes up, and I get wrong answers on all kinds of stuff, especially with Werewolf, especially with like AWS stuff. I'll get incorrect answers because it's looking at different versions. And one of our guys, he's probably not around right now, but Fisherman, he works directly with AWS quite a bit, solutions architect work, and he says that he's always getting wrong answers from it because it's just the different versions of things, and like the AI is gathering all the data and giving you, you know, just the best sense that it can, but it's not doing the best thing it can. But anyway, so all right. Oh, I wanted to show you guys one other thing about this. If you do this lab, you drop into here and you're in fail to ban. So you went into Etsy fail to ban jail.conf, and now you / to like SSHD. If I could type right. Can I type the word SSHD right? There we go. And now we can see the configuration for SSHD down here if we wanted to either set it up at the top or if we wanted to configure it down here. Earlier it was commented, right? So this is all commented out. Or you can just come down here to where it's actually already a properly organized directive or whatever you want to call it, and you can set these values down here for it. So it says uncomment SSHD and enter the following lines, and then go down and check and comment this out. So if you were actually doing this lab, you would do this, right? You would comment this out, and then you would go up to the top. I'm hitting N to go backwards, and I would, right? And then I would add these max retry equals 5, find time equals 10, like how long is it watching for, and then ban time equals 4 hours, right? And then now when you write a file, so for people that haven't been around or done a lot of Linux, when you write a file, you have to restart the service because a service doesn't read the file in real time. No services do. That's a general kind of standard in Linux and systems world. And the reason is because if I was saving that file intermittently as I was going through it, and then the system was rereading it, it would just be reading a garbage file and it would be breaking my service all over the place. So now I've told the system, the fail to ban, that it's allowed to control SSH, and then I can go look at it and I can see that it's running. I can look at its PID. I can see, you know, whatever's going on with it, right? Then I can start to go and check and break my system, right? Oh, and I actually did, that's funny, I did that on the wrong. Oh no, it is on the right system. Yeah. And then we go over to node 01 and we jump back in, right? That's what the lab shows. All right, so we won't do that lab right now, but I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit. Yeah, and then Robodom, you're doing Scale, right? Scale 23 is coming up. So if you guys are in California, this is the Scale Expo. Robodom, you probably heard they didn't end up using me, so I'm not going to make it out there, but I will try to make it out. Hopefully they find a time to use me. But they did, and then they didn't even tell me. That was the thing, Robodom, that definitely miffed me the most, was they didn't. They didn't even tell me. I like went and checked, and then after I checked and saw that my talk wasn't accepted, I was like, oh, I thought that they would tell me, and then I got an email later that day, and I was like, man, that's weird. What a coincidence. And they're like, normally we tell people earlier, and I'm like, I don't know. So anyways, yeah, for people that are going to go, you know, they have good talks out there. They have a bunch of vendor stuff. You guys can get swag, right? Stuff we all get. Robodom's always out there, so if you go find him and get a picture with him, anybody in the group, if you get a picture with Robodom, I always try to give like a humble bundle or something, some kind of nice little thing if you post up in the Discord. So did ask them on their Slack channel. They kept giving me a that's fine, Robodom. I'm not gonna worry about it too much. I just focus on what I can do, right? Like I can't, like I was even telling the wife, I was like, I'm not gonna beg people to like me. I mean, you know, it is what it is. So, but yeah. So guys, I think it's an excellent thing to go get networking. I think it's excellent place to go find out what's kind of going on in the industry, what people are doing, what kind of things are interesting. And I think that'll be good. But anyways, that's the Scale Expo. You can go find it, Social Linux Expo, or it's not social, it's SoCal, so it's Southern California Linux Expo. So, yeah, you guys should definitely think about that if you haven't. Okay, home lab environment. I gotta check some of these boxes for their uptime. They need to be patched and rebooted. Get rid of that one. Logs, messy. This one, that's fine. Right, that's kind of what I expect. Like if I was doing a heads up display, those would be a fine one, just to see that the nodes have been up and haven't been rebooted. That's useful. That's fine. Get out of here. All right. So what am I doing then? I don't know. I didn't really hop on with a whole bunch of a plan. I just kind of wanted to hop on and make sure that we had that ton talks on LM. Yeah, Robedom, if I were to show you like internal, I don't show this on stream normally, but internal to my college classes for my, I'm working on my PhD, and man, I'm the only guy across. I mean, we're talking like a lot of my dissertation writing courses has. I mean, we have psychologists in there. We have it's kind of like these big classes with a lot of people, and we'll be talking discussions. I think I'm like one of like maybe 150 people, if I had to like conservatively guess, one or two people that are not using AI in their actual, and I'm talking psychology, systems engineering, different security topic, like different dissertations for different types of everybody, even business people and economic, they're all doing some type of AI in their assessment. Now, I'm not saying that you can't use AI. I mean, do whatever you want. I'm just saying it's surprising to me, almost shocking to me, how much it's part of every single dissertation. And I'm not just saying they're using it for the analysis. I think you should use it for the analysis. It's good at that. What I'm saying is that it's actually part of their dissertation. Is like, how does AI affect this, or how does AI affect this, or whatever. And I'm just not doing that. Yeah. I'm gonna be like one of the last old dinosaurs that finishes and just kind of did something without it. However, I'm going to probably, there will be in my, so chapter 5 is always like conclusions and future discussions or future topics. I will probably say a lot of the stuff that we have done, we use tools and this kind of stuff because we're doing Bastion nodes. In case you don't know, Robedom, we're all this Bastion stuff that I build for the lab, that's going to be the purpose of our tool. One of the things I'm going to say is, yeah, you probably could point a lot of this at AI and get a lot of valid real-time data from that as well. We just didn't do that in this dissertation, right? So, yeah. Oh, yeah, Robedom. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's anybody getting hired now that isn't at least, that they don't want you at least proficient in AI usage in some way, for sure. Yeah. Although it's just not the focus of my systems engineering doctorate, which, by the way, I do need to start working on my dissertation more. So Sunday nights for sure will be that. And then sometime during the week like this, I'll be collecting data, which I haven't done in a while. But typically, like if my OneNote pops up over here, we have, when I've done some different stream notes, and I just need to keep adding to my stream notes. I'm going to take the December off of there because it doesn't really matter anymore. These are dissertation just topics and things that we had found that we were working through, and then I have a whole bunch more to add. So, all right. But what else do we have? In all my career so far, I only use AI as a Google Pack. Fair enough. Yeah. Actually, so yeah, there's some, like I started unintentionally using it inside of this. So, I use VS Code for a lot of my lab building when I build the automation labs and the labs. And now, like if I go and start to type something, it'll be like, "Hey, buddy, did you mean this?" And I'm like, oh, "Hold on a second, AI. I don't need that much like Copilot help and all that kind of stuff." So there is a lot of that stuff that's kind of like if I started to type something else right here, it would be like, I don't know. Well, one, it would probably tell me there's a problem. And it's gonna like try to tell me, "Hey, did you mean this command, or did you mean this, or whatever?" And then I typically just don't. Oh, see, look, it's trying to give me all that. Nope, don't want it. Let's fix that. Okay. But the point is, there's it's built into all kinds of stuff now, and it makes a lot of stuff like I write easier too, because like I'll kind of just hash out my notes of like what I want to do with Ansible, and then it'll start to build the tasks for me, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of looks right, and then I go test it a little bit, and it works the way that I expect it to, and then it's good. That is funny, Robedom. One of the guys on Twitch here, if any of you guys know L:_Q or Clonk or whatever you want to call him, he actually revised Clippy. He brought Clippy back. I saw him doing that like a month ago. I don't know if he's still doing it, but I think because he uses Emacs, And he had that built out the other day. I think he's live right now. I don't know. I saw an alert earlier, so I think he's live right now. But he was he brought that thing back and did all that stuff too. So I think he even put an AI behind it, but then kept the same animation and stuff. I don't know. I haven't been on there in a while, but that's what he was working on. All right. But what else? Yeah. Give a shout out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's on right now. But all right. So we do have a lot of stuff to work on. I don't really want to work on anything, so I'll just keep talking about the Discord for a little bit. For you guys, some of you guys know, people are even hopping in there. We have almost 5,000 people, so we're getting pretty big as far as that goes. Nothing on Discord ever costs anything, so like if you guys go to like the Bash study group, Colchis runs that. That's pretty good. Linux admin course and the Linux automation course. We're finishing up the automation course this week, and I'll probably give a little bit of extra time for people to finish up the. Some of you guys want to like the automation course, since I've been behind. I'll probably give a couple of extra weeks for people to do the work, because there's going to be a lot more work coming down the pike here shortly. And oh, actually, let me see what Jared said too. Jared said he's coming over. Say 6 p.m. And by the way, if you guys look at this in Discord, it'll be your time. So 6 p.m. is my time, which currently is Mountain Standard Time. We're not on Pacific Time, and we're not on East Coast time. We're 2 hours off of East Coast. So for people on the East Coast, that would be 8 p.m. For people in California, this would be 5 p.m. this weekend. Jared's going to come and talk. And then the course study group, again, automation course will be ending up, so that one will be gone. And then the writer's room, they'll probably have a lot of stuff that they're writing this week. But if you guys haven't worked with the writer's room, that's a lot of the guys who kind of have built that whole. If you want to go see how to build this stuff out all of the books and stuff that we run, all of this stuff is all done directly through GitHub, and they just have they'd have to show you how to do it, but it's like a markdown creation that just stuff all comes out. I think Treasure originally set it up for everybody and showed them how to do it, but it's a pretty cool little thing. So yeah, if you go to like this lab, it has all this stuff. You go look at the worksheet. It's got an embedded, if you want to go watch me talk about, whatever we were doing. And then you come down, you read, work through the lab. Here's all the lab environment, all the stuff you do. This one was hardening boxes, so it shows you a little bit about the STIG tool and how you would use that if you were trying to interact with like a information system security officer, like if you're doing government stuff or if you're working in that space. This is like hardening, so I show a little bit about how to harden out MySQL, and then you go and you look. So again, if you guys ever do the security course, I don't want to make you like a STIG monkey. I don't want to make you somebody that's just checking boxes in an environment. That's next to useless to me. What I want you to do is understand where to go look at the stuff, how to configure it, and then how to report out that the things are configured. You're going to have those fights in your security team meetings and in your project management meetings where, hey, we didn't set this STIG because it doesn't make sense, but you have to be able to articulate that. You have to be ready to fight. Like, it's not like you're just going in with your arms down and you're like, well, I don't like doing that type of Linux work, and I don't think that that's too good. Well, you're going to get your ass kicked in that fight, and you're going to lose, and then you're going to have to set it, and you're going to be pissed. Or you're going to have problems where the implementation doesn't work now, but you couldn't articulate the thing. So the goal of a lot of this is to show you guys how to build that out. Anyways, I only even came over here to show you guys that these books are all built out of GitHub. So you can actually go and you can see, I think if you go to course books, you can go look at the repository that the guys run. Yeah, here's the course books. You can even download and have the course, right? I think they left this all open. So you guys can see how this all works. If you want to get involved with the writers group, those guys will show you, they'll get you involved, and you can start fixing. They've got pull requests, they've got issues, so whenever an issue pops up, it'll show you, you can go in there and you can help fix stuff and write stuff. So I don't know, some of you guys, maybe you've never done any GitHub work or worked as part of a team. That's a good thing, that kind of shows that you understand workflows. Yeah, these guys are they're doing all kinds of good stuff in there. So can't say enough good things about the guys in that writers group, because they're just going and just putting stuff together that I'm kind of just throwing out there for everybody. So show them new certs. Oh yeah. He's gonna give a demo for the new certs. I have actually one for me, Trevor. I don't think it popped up right, but let's go to verify, and then for me, this is me. He made new certs, so that's what the cert looks like if you finish up the new Professional Links users group that's coming up. That's what the little cert will look like. And because of the way that that Trevor does that, if you give this link to anybody, so this link could basically be given to anybody. You could put it on your resume, kind of like you do anything else, and they could go click, and it would actually show that you completed your course with us, right? So we've been doing that. It's actually a really cool little project that he put together. In fact, when Trevor did the first course with us, this was his project, was this and the website. So he put together all this stuff and he kept building the website later, but he put this all together as part of the his Linux admin type stuff. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. Had a Midnight Simon become prologue. I always see him do Hanso. I've been in Midnight Simon's thing since, I don't know, probably 5 years ago. I've been hanging out with him. Yeah, even before he went in and got to Google and stuff. And if you guys don't know Midnight Simon, you should follow him. But he just, what did he do? He just left Google now, and he's kind of doing his own little thing. So you guys should watch him during the day if you're kind of hanging out. But yeah, I've known Midnight Simon, hung out on his channel. I always joked around with him like I should get into that type of engineering, because I've watched him so long that I should just compete in that crap. I should just do that leak code stuff. But I'm not strictly speaking, I'm not a software engineer. Like, I write code, but I'm not like what I always used to call coders, but nowadays they call them SWEs, right? Software engineer. That's not what I do. So I like to watch him do it. I like to have him on in the background, especially during the day, because he's kind of doing like this new endeavor. And for some of you guys who like using like these different AI tools to build things, he is using, I think he said he's doing like $500 or $1,000 a month in credits on his, and he's just building a really cool, he's building Typeblazer. So if you guys have never seen this, he's building this site right now. Does he not have it up right now? I thought he had Typeblazer up. Maybe he's not running it when he's not on. Let's see. It's definitely Typeblazer. Maybe he doesn't have it live all the time. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't have the right link to him, but he's been writing Typeblazer, which is like Typeracer, and then he's been building all little characters and stuff like that. It's been pretty fun. I've been watching his stuff. Addy, you said, hey, did I play TKG before? I'm not sure what TKG is. The only game I used to be super addicted to online. Well, no, let me say not the only one. Back in the day, I used to play a lot of Unreal Tournament online, and loved the shit out of that. And then when World of Warcraft came out, I played a lot of World of Warcraft. So we were big PvPers, and we were like arena. For some of you guys who know about the arenas and stuff, we were second season. I was a second season gladiator in the arenas back when we were at level 70. I never played it when it went up to level 80. I don't know how many seasons of the arenas there are now, but me and my brothers were like 2,400 was our average arena ranking, if you know what that is. That's pretty damn high. We beat the crap out of a lot of people. In fact, you'd get so high you'd only play the same teams, and we'd just stomp the same guys over and over again. But anyways, TKG, no. Oh, I thought you were talking just video games. No, I don't even know what that is. It's on VMware. I don't know what that is, no. I thought you were asking video games, Addy, sorry. Hector, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I'm not working too hard right now, guys. I'm just kind of talking and trying to get on a little bit because I hadn't been streaming. But yeah, for people that know about the group, our Professional Links user group, the goal is to get you guys doing this stuff professionally. And we have, so I'll show you guys something that not everybody sees. I do have it set up where we're going to get ready for our August 8th and 9th virtual conference. So we always do a virtual conference right around our anniversary as a group. I think we're going on 12, I think we're saying about 12 years of running the group. And I think it's like 7 now on Discord. So we're gonna do this. These are all free, and then I get a bunch of people to come and talk. I don't know. Most people tend to like it, and it's free. But then we're gonna get Sending Grounds back fired up. I know he's helped some people get jobs. He was doing a lot of really cool stuff around interviews, and he did a few sessions like that. I'll probably get him to do some more of those. TBC Anniversary Edition is out, but I've been PvPing too. Oh yeah. So Based Mage, my one of my brothers still plays, but I had a brother. One of my brothers was he was top 100 in the world, but maybe he was like even in the top 50. First people to get the Thunder Fury back at level 60, if any of you guys remember that, because we were on a raid one time and he just happened to get one of the bindings, and that was like a generic raid before we got in a serious raiding guild, and then he got the other binding, and then Thunder Fury wasn't even released for like a year or so. I don't even remember how long it was, and then when Thunder Fury came out, he got it right away. So and I remember even at level 70, that was still the best one-handed PvP item in the game, because it would slow people, and it used to have a really big AoE shock that they had to nerf. That was actually pretty cool. And there was an AoE that hit everybody, and it also debuffed people against it was fire and ice, right? Because it was that. So, and I played a warlock, guys. My warlock's name was Baraga, and he was just a fucking terror. And I would do a conflagration build, right? The SM Ruin build back at level 60, and just fucking murder everybody. It was so terrible. Yeah, but I was like so addicted to that game. I can't even like dabble with it. For years, I didn't even have like a video card in my systems. I would build my own computer. I wouldn't even have a video card in my systems because I didn't even want to be tempted by it. Yeah, I was so addicted to WoW. You say, how addicted were you? I ran the network operations center for GoDaddy, and I just quit one day so I could raid. So yeah, that was in 2006. That was a long time ago. Then I ran my own business for a few years before I went over to Lockheed. So yeah, look, my box is basically sitting there empty, not even doing anything. I need to do something with it. It's turning a lot of electricity into heat. That's really all it's doing right now. We could start that. We have in Werewolf here, we have our images. We'll just keep using the Rocky 9 image. So the Rocky 9 image is the one that we currently use for all the Rocky boxes. Right? And there it is right there. There's the image configured to the node Rocky 1. And then all we have to do really is just add in, if we just do all of our node list, all we got to do is just build out more Rocky servers. Super easy in here. We can just generate more. And then we just define their MAC addresses back to the ones that we generate over here. Again, via Ansible. And we'll just build a bunch of Rocky boxes. They'll just turn on and they'll just pull their image. Super easy to do. So, Addy said, after provisioning a new cluster, DNS resolution was bro host names can be resolved by VQDN, only by IP address. Root cause system D resolve and choice of local TLD for the lab. Interesting. Yeah, Addy, I haven't necessarily played with it, but that seems interesting. Is that a problem? I'm not sure if you're saying there was a problem there, but that does look like something that could cause problems. Looking at what you're saying there, let me show you guys real quick for people that haven't been around, because you might say, well, so what's this werewolf thing do, right? Like I see that you've got this werewolf server, but what does that mean? What are you showing? Well, in the werewolf lab network, which is VLAN 1, if a node comes up and he's defined over here by a MAC address, if he comes up and I know who he is, or if Werewolf knows who he is, Werewolf takes over the environment and runs DHCP. It does all the DNS. It does all the configurations if you want. But if a node comes up and asks, who am I? And Werewolf knows who he is, it says, hey, if you're net booting, which we set the boxes to net boot, here's your iPXE information. So it's what we call a iPXE boot. The node will boot and it'll pull up all of its information. So I can actually do it real quick on my Proxmox server with this box that's down. So let's go here. Rocky 4 is set correctly. Let's see. Let's make sure that Rocky 4 is set correctly. Yeah, he's going off of the Rocky 9 Linux. He's there. So all I have to do now is turn this box on. So let's just start this box. He has no memory of who he is. He's a stateless node. But when he comes up here, let's watch this console here. He's going to boot up, and immediately he grabbed a DHCP address. Oh, it's happening too fast to even see. But see how he's got a Rocky Linux 9, and he sees that he is Rocky 4. You see his name there? So this server is going to boot, and he's going to come up. It actually only takes about 10 seconds in this environment for him to start. And then over on my werewolf box, I'll be able to SSH into Rocky 4. Yep. He's almost up. He's got a couple errors. I can go clean up some of the startup scripts. I'm not running SE Linux on him. Yep, he's up. So I can SSH into Rocky 4. And he's pulled that config. So now I just need to go set up all the other ones, and they'll boot that fast. And so you say, well, Scott, do you have the capacity right now on the Rocky 1 and the Rocky 2 node that you have up to handle all the people that are going to be trying to connect into your system next week for the administration course? And I'm going to say, not currently. But very quickly, I can spin up all these other nodes, and as long as they have definitions in there, they'll automatically get grabbed. They will pull their information. They'll find their identities and pull their information from Werewolf. So that's one of the powers. If you've ever played with, if you've ever done provisioning, this is a really useful thing. So I often show this, right? And this is when we do the HPC course in the future. NIST 800-223. And I'll show this real quick. Where's that? Should be, yeah, 200. Yeah, here it is. For anybody that wants this, I show this pretty often, but link this to anybody that wants it. I always show this, like, and when I talk with customers with my company. I work with a company called Redline right now. And this is like the HPC reference model. This has all the component pieces that we kind of talk about when we build high performance compute for a company. And one of the things that's difficult, or one of the things that's been challenging, is a good provisioning server and resource manager. Like, and the resource manager scheduling and resource manager, that tends to be done with like a tool like Slurm or PBS Pro or something like that. There's other tools that exist out there, but Slurm's a pretty good one. But the provisioning server, cluster services, things that are running what's going on here, we're basically treating our nodes like these compute nodes here, and they're just booting up and then getting their identity from the Werewolf server. So Werewolf tends to be our provisioning server. We've also used over the years, a very common one in the systems world was XCAT, but XCAT was kind of let go by IBM last year. My company Redline and a couple other companies kind of took it up, but they haven't released the new version of it. It was being ported. It was all like bash scripts and flat files, and it had been being ported into, I think, mostly Python. But then I think one of our engineers left, and I don't know that like that project's really been getting worked on lately. But Werewolf does a lot of, we use Werewolf all over the place. It's funny, it says Werewolf. It's WEREWULF if you ever need to mess with it. But it's an awesome tool. That's what we use in the home lab. That's how we build stuff. And then this NIST doc, if you're ever like saying, hey, I want to get some more experience in there, the hardest thing for me to help people with is learning this back-end network. The back-end network stuff is the thing that I need specialized software, switches and devices to connect to. So this is the one that I almost can never show any of you guys, but like how we log in and do Bastion nodes, I show that kind of stuff. We have labs on that. Building out the Slurm, I show you guys how to do that in some of those labs, right? Killer Code has all that stuff. It's all free. And then provisioning stuff we've been doing in the automation course. So, trying to get people experience with that. So anyways, all right. So I don't know. I think I've talked for enough today, but yeah, now Rocky 4 is up and we can see it here. We see that he has the version of all the information that he has inside of there. When we see him actually expand out, we see that he got his networks like he got his network shares like he should off of the main box. So that's kind of useful. We use that for a lot of the lab information. Yeah, Robodom, I got back on Sunday night. Yep. So Sunday night, we were gone Thursday through Sunday. Yeah. I've never done like an all-inclusive before, but my buddies wanted to go and do that, so we brought the wives and we went and hung out and did that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so Robodom, if you saw that stuff on the news on Sunday, I was flying back in that. Yeah, I was flying back in on Sunday when it was just like it was a big mess, but it was a big mess on the other side of the country. So yeah. yeah. So it was, I mean, it was interesting. It wasn't terrible, but it was kind of interesting. All right, so anyway, so yeah, guys, I wanted you to know these events will start showing up when I get more people signed up. I know quite a few of the guys that have done them before like to do updated versions of the same talks. Yeah, who even knows? Who even knows what's going on our servers anymore? But I think some of the guys will be coming back that have talked before. They'll give you updated versions. Most of the people that talk at those, I try to get people who are in the industry in their respective areas to come and give you guys talks. One of my buddies that has come a few times before, who's an economist, he's going to come and try to talk to you guys again. He's actually defending his dissertation in a week, so he'll have his PhD here really soon. He's going to come talk to you guys again. Actually, he messaged me today, and he said, hey, I might come talk to your guys if you want, and then have you come talk to my guys about like troubleshooting and system stuff, because I guess some of his guys are struggling with probably making decisions, honestly, because that's one of the things we're going to focus on in this troubleshooting on the automation courses. Like, yeah, you do all this stuff, you've got all these different methodologies for troubleshooting things, but how do you actually have any of you guys ever thought of this? How do you actually decide it's time to move, right? And that is a important thing. In fact, I think that's one of the things that keeps people out of admin work and engineering work is they get like paralysis. We call it analysis paralysis. They spend so much time analyzing things they never actually execute. And sometimes like you just have to send it. And you might say, well, how would I know? Like, how would I know that it's time to just send it? And I say, well, you've got these techniques, but then there's also like, I guess, some best course of actions and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit this weekend for people that come for the automation course. We'll talk about the PDMCA and the OODA loop, right? So there's no M in that. I don't know why I said an M there. It's PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, and then OODA is the, I don't know why I said it like that. Not PDM. It's PDCA is the Plan, Do, Check, Act, which is a very, very specific type of methodology for decision making, often used with Six Sigma, if you guys ever use Six Sigma. And one of the things I talk about, like, administration is just learning Linux and knowing Linux stuff, right? But when you say, hey, Scott, like, I want to pull my big boy pants up and I want to do more engineering stuff, then I say there are like universal things about engineering that I literally don't care if you're a Linux engineer, a Windows engineer, a storage engineer, if you're going to go work on rockets, there are universal things about engineering that are true that I think are good to know. And one of them is like the Six Sigma process of it's total quality management. It's improvement of processes over time, process improvement, right? And the simple pieces of math you need to know. I'm not telling you have to go be like my friend Ben and have a PhD in economics and math. I'm not saying you need that. But what I'm saying is you do need to understand some of these basic tools that can drive things to be better. And Six Sigma is trying to get what we call the DPMO, the defects per million opportunities of error, down to 3.14 per million opportunities. So it's like 3.14 DPMO. It's defects per million opportunities is what it's called. Hey, they're sending. I was just mentioning you sending because I was saying earlier that I need to get you back involved with, I know you had that really good kind of little series you did with people on getting into the interviews and stuff. Because for you guys that weren't here the other day, this was the talk that I was kind of doing. We were talking about getting into Linux admin work, right? First one, you need to get your skills in Linux, right? If I told you there were 4 things you had to do, you got to learn some Linux. So then we talked about that. Then I said you need to learn the job, like what does the day in the life of the engineer look like? And you can learn that by talking to admins and engineers and that kind of stuff. But then you got to put together a resume and have something that looks good enough to get you in the interview. And then you need to do the interview. And this is where a lot of guys are kind of I don't want to say falling out, but I know a lot of people who they're very confident when we talk in the Discord and when we do work and stuff like that. These guys are confident, but then I say like, hey, have you gotten to an interview? I get to all kinds of interviews. I don't get the job. Well, is it this, right? Do we know how to talk the talk? Do we sit with the other engineers and talk like they talk, or do we not know how to articulate like what a TLS connection is, because somebody's going to ask you and you're going to be like, why do I need to be an expert on TLS? I'm doing Linux. Because maybe that company focuses on Linux-based connections, and that's where most of their troubleshooting comes from. Now, you say, but even then, I'm not engineering TLS. Why the heck do I need to know what why do I need to know where the CRT is found, and whether or not I can share the private version of my certificate authority that we've generated internally? Why do I need to know that stuff? And you go, well, just because if you understand and can talk about it intelligently in generalities, people are going to understand that you know what's going on here. You know what needs to be protected. You know, and again, as I talk about, if you ever come to my talks on why engineering, everything that we do as engineers is a cycle. Engines cycle through a set of things, and if we know where they break, then we can figure out, the last thing that happened, then we can move through, right? So, anyways, there's a lot of that stuff. Yeah, Leith, you said that he helped you get a role. Yeah, and today was your first day. Nice. Well, you should be nice and tired then, right? Because you were doing a lot of document reading and probably going to spend a couple of weeks getting all your accesses and stuff. One of the things that I've said before, Leith, and people have asked me this, so now that you're starting that type of job, let me go see if I can find it. I think I did it in meeting notes, but it might have been in general. Let's see if I can find this real quick. It was a while ago. Let me see if I can find from me. Author type was a user name at Tanis. Maybe. Let me see if... It's probably, I mean, like their search function is like literally the worst thing ever. What was this? Oh, this was my first day of training a while back. That's funny. That was like a year and a half ago when I was out in Hawaii. But hold on. No. Shoot. I'm not gonna be able to find. Again, I'm not super happy with Discord search functions. I have no idea what's going on there. Hey Clonk, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to anybody that shows up. We're just looking in the Discord right now. I was talking about, so for people that aren't familiar, I run a professional Linux users group that has almost 5,000 people, and we try to get people into Linux admin work and Linux engineering and that kind of stuff. But yeah, how's it going, Clonk? I was actually in there earlier today for just a little bit, though. I don't think I said anything. But I did mention you earlier. I think we did a shout out to you, but because I was mentioning somebody said Clippy, and I was like, yeah, I think he energized Clippy a few months back or so. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, I appreciate anybody that wants to hang out for a few minutes. I'm not going to be on too much longer, but I typically after a raid I'll stay on for a little bit. But I'll show you guys what we were talking about. We were talking about getting into Linux admin work, and I kind of have like these 4 things that I tell people they need to do. You need to get some skills in Linux. People come from all different types of backgrounds. They do Arch, they do Debian, some people started out in RHEL systems, right? And RHEL, typically you would do like Fedora or something, right? And then I think that you need to learn some basics and stuff, and then you need to learn the job, right? Like just knowing Linux is fine, but you need to understand like where your work comes from. You're going to be doing trouble tickets. You're going to be sitting in project management meetings and maybe planning sometimes. And what does a day in the life of a system admin look like, right? Then that's a diddle, a day in the life of, right? And then we were talking about putting together a resume, and then we were talking about practicing talking the talk, and that's really where I was right now. Where like, how do engineers talk? How do you make sure that like if you're gonna go sit for an interview, that you're not just like, hey, no, I understand Linux and I understand the things, and then somebody asks you a question, but you can't really articulate it well. So I really do think that a big part of engineering and academia in general is sitting with other people who talk like that. And I often say, like, if you ever hear me, so people that don't know me, I've been a college professor for almost 18 years now. I don't sit around and talk pedantically because I care if I'm the smartest guy in the room. I am not trying to be the smartest guy in the room. what's important to me is this may be the only hour, or if you're spending a time in my college class, it might be the only chance you get to sit around and talk like this. You might go break rocks the rest of your day. I don't know. And you're trying to get into this field. So when I say things precisely, or when I try to do these things, it's not because I want to hear myself talk. It's because that's the way engineers talk. We deal in precision and accuracy. We don't deal in my feelings and that kind of stuff. So you need to practice your interview, right? You need to practice your way that you do this stuff. And one of our guys, Sending Grounds, is really good at this, right? He does a lot of interviews. I've given a lot of interviews in my time. I think Sending Grounds probably has me beat, but he has a really good method for practicing. So I'll get him to do more of those events. Then we're also showing in our Discord, you go up to events and we have all the stuff that's kind of going on, all the free stuff everything in our Discord's free, right? We don't charge nothing in there. And our courses look like this, right? So for people who are like, we've got not automation, we got an administration course starting next week, and it's all done in our system, right? It's all done in Discord. We run everything through Discord, and this is what the book looks like. If anybody wants the book, here it is. It's all run out of our. Yeah, anybody can just hop in Discord. Yeah, we do it in We've had 109 people in there before, so it's been pretty big. We do it in a conference channel, so. That's just because the Discord, if you've ever had more than 40 people in a Discord voice channel, once you get over 25, you can't do video anymore. That's a rule they have. And once you get over 40, people just won't, you can't talk. So you have to switch to a conference when you have large amounts of people. So we've had a good amount of people in there before. I'd say our average in there probably is going to be like probably between 20 and 40, somewhere in there. I never know how many people are going to come. But it's basically I run it a lot like a classroom. But anyways, it looks like this. This is what the course looks like. Here's the summary of things that we talk about. Here's the objectives, the things I want you to know how to do by the end of the course. And then we have a Bastion set of nodes that people can connect to. And I show how to do that. I was actually showing that earlier today too. Here's what the 16 weeks look like, but we're compressing it down into only 8 weeks. So for people that are interested in this kind of stuff, this is this. Also, guys, I apologize. I'm probably missing chat over here. You guys resurrect clip. That's actually super funny though. I was actually mentioning how you do a lot of Emacs over there too. I think all exclusively Emacs too. So yeah, if you guys don't follow Clonk, you definitely should. Robodom, do you mind giving him a shout out? And then also I think there's the Discord too. Anyways, so let's go look at this is the course project. If you guys do the course with us, you do the project to get the cool little. And one of our guys did an awesome job on this. And again, I tell you guys all the time, I basically stand on the shoulders of all these other guys that do cool stuff. This is what a certificate looks like if you do our course with us. This is mine, right, from when I first wrote the course. And Treasure made these. He automatically generates them. And then this link right here is always true. This is always accurate for me. Well, my internet was down yesterday. But for the most part, this one will always be accurate. So I could put that on a resume and somebody can go click that. And they can see that I did this course with the Professional Linux Users Group. And I guess, you could copy that and change the name or whatever, but you could actually, and that would be, cheating, I guess. But if you wanted to do that and then have it there for anybody else to see, I always call things like that in your resume like a positive differentiator. I tell people all the time, you don't have to go to college to do this stuff. I think going to college is wonderful, but if you don't want to go to college, there's all kinds of other ways to get into this field still. I think this is in the engineering space, this is one of the last ways that you can do that and really get away with, hey, I'm gonna learn this stuff in the wild and still go be successful. So I do think that you guys can do that. Yeah. Oh, Robodon, did the shout out not work? That's fine. That's still a good follow link. So most people here are probably raiders, so they're already following him. But yeah, if you guys don't follow him, and I've never gotten a straight answer from him if it's L:Q or Clonk, so I just call him Clonk. So hopefully, if he's still around, he doesn't take any offense to that. I don't think he would, but yeah. So anyways, that's the course. That's the kind of things that we do, and honestly, a big part of why we do this stuff, because people say well, why would you run this course? Why would you do this? Because I just think a lot of us that are kind of part of the group and been with the group for a long time, we just want to make it an easier path for people to get into this field than we had. A lot of us back in the day, when I got into Linux almost 25 years ago, somebody just throws you a CD and said, install it. And if you can't install it, a week later when you see that person again, or whenever you see that person again, you're like, I couldn't install it. They're like, well, Time to go be a network admin or something. I don't know what to tell you. You can't be a Linux guy. But nowadays, like, your barrier of entry to Linux is so much lower. You can go, one of my favorite sites to show people is Killer Coda. This is a free website. You just go hop in here. You can go find, like, let's say you wanted to learn Ansible. There's this guy, Scott. He'll teach you Ansible, right? That's me. But anyways, here's all my Ansible stuff. And we have a bunch more that we do in, like, the automation course that aren't directly related to these. But, like, if you're like, hey, I've heard about this tool Ansible since 2013 and it's super popular, and everybody, there's this big cult of Ansible. I always joke around about the cult of Ansible. Well, here's why there's a cult of Ansible. You can come right here. Let's go back to my werewolf box. And I want to touch all the nodes in my environment, and I don't want to do it with shell script. We can loop over shell scripts. Those are easy to write, right? But I can do this real quick and just see that my environment's all up. Or, alternatively, maybe I want to make sure that all their logins look right. So maybe I just do like a host name. Host name's going to cut out the... I'll do this a different way. Hold on. We can see all their info. That's not great. I want to do this. So we'll look at the message of the day as people log into our servers, because we have created them differently. So when you log into our environments, you can see that there's dev boxes. You can see that there's automation boxes in the nice old Doom format. That's a Doom. And then the Hammer boxes are their own ones as well. So very quickly, you could come through and say, okay, are all the servers on the right container images that we expect them to be? Yes. Right, and we would see that our nodes in the lab are built the way that we expect them to be, or whatever, right? Agent, you're looking for your first job. Nice. How are you looking, if you don't mind me asking? I mostly, like, when I show things on here, I'll use Dice a lot, and I'll find jobs off of LinkedIn. Like, I'm always putting jobs up for, if I know a manager or I know a recruiter, I always put the jobs up in our little tech chat channel. And I do tell you guys all, here, let's jump to present. I do tell you guys all the time, like, I don't expect to be anybody's favorite streamer, but, you know, if Clonk's ever not around, you guys are always welcome to hang out with me, right? But, like, typically we'll go in here. Like, I know a colleague of this hiring manager. So one of my buddies on LinkedIn posted this from one of his friends. So I don't know this company that's in Alberta, Canada. I don't know them, but I could at least give, like, a proxy introduction if somebody wanted. And then we just talk about mostly job stuff in this channel. And people will post things like, I know the lead over here. Oh, actually, yeah, I know him. So Linker is looking for more, because I work with NOAA. Some of you guys know I work with the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Agency, but I work on the high performance compute side, right? And this is over on the research side. So this is a scientific research with a guy that I know, and you can go pop in here, and then here's their Linker stuff. And they do scientific research. So some of this does require advanced degrees, but not everything. Anyways, if we came into our Ansible lab, watch real quick here. Welcome, Prologue. Your team has decided they need a tool they can use to control and operate the many servers you have in your environment. You've been tasked with evaluating Ansible. Okay, so install Ansible, and that's the install command, app-y install. That only works because, again, you've got the repositories configured with Ubuntu as you first start the system. We look at that in other labs, but for now we're just going to install it, and then we're going to go look at the version of Ansible. Just kind of runs you through everything. Have I ever posted anything from Germany? No, I don't. Man, I have friends that spent a lot of time in Germany, especially my old Army buddies, but I haven't seen anything directly from Germany, unfortunately. But I was just wondering, like Cyber Olive Tree, where do you look if you are looking? Where do you look? I mean, again, I use Dice. I use like USA Jobs, because I work a lot with that stuff. And it's funny, the algorithms always have me tagged as looking for work. And I always tell my management, like, I work at kind of a smaller company, Redline. We have probably like 50 to 60 employees at any given time. And I tell them, I'm like, guys, if I ever pop up in a search because I'm looking for work, it's because I'm doing it for my college students. Like, I'm always being tagged on LinkedIn. They're always sending me jobs and stuff. And I'm never looking for work. I really enjoy where I work. I really enjoy what I do. But I am always looking for work to show to my college students and that kind of stuff. So, well, Robodom, they're probably seeing me pop up as a potential hire for our, HPC stuff. But it's like, I already work for them. But I tell them all the time, I'm like, I'm not looking for work. So if I ever pop up in one of those searches for like HPC people, that's not. I'm not looking for work. So your LinkedIn, Google searching website of college has a site. Nice. Cyberology, I imagine if you're doing or if you've just finished college, that's probably, if I had to guess, yeah, you're probably earlier on in your career. So a lot of that stuff, yeah. I mean, I tell people I can't even. I try to give the best advice I can for breaking into tech, but really, I tell people a lot of it is just keep doing it and just hoping that you eventually kind of fall into these roles. And the reason I say that like that is because you guys, I like the way I got into tech was I got a CCNA while I was still in the Army, so I learned Cisco, and I didn't really know anything about anything except I could program the crap out of routers and switches. I didn't even know what a server was though, but I could program the crap out of routers and switches. And then when I got out, I just kind of fell into a networking role, and then I was like a firewall and a wireless guy. Those were my two. And everybody would think like, oh, firewall and wireless are super cool. Yeah, I mean they were cool, but like honestly, I was bored out of my mind doing networking. I was bored in like a way that I can't even, like, I shudder to think about, almost like claustrophobia. Like I don't even want to think about like being in a tight space. That's how I feel about like networking. Not that I hate networking. I still teach networking. It's just that I never loved it, right? So I wanted to get into, like, I got into Linux very early, and that was a kind of a defining thing for me. Anyway, so where I'm going with that is like my major advice for people, especially starting out, if you're younger for sure, is when you're getting in, is I tell you that there's two types of work that like a lot of the older pros don't necessarily want, and this is the way that I think people can still break in more easily. One is anywhere around you, look for network operations and security operations centers, SOCs and NOCs. Those type of jobs always have third shifts. And I'm telling you right now, like in my 20s, I did some third shift work, but in my 40s, I'm not doing that crap. I got a family, I got like kids, I got like all this stuff, I get grandkids. I don't want to be working third shift. So that's an awesome way to break in and get around the tech world, right? Another one is, I always tell people that help desk is a great one, right? Like, what is third shift means, like that you're working from 10 p.m. to like 6 a.m. That's it's the night shift. Sorry, third shift is night shift. Sorry. So please believe, I think that's terrible. I don't want to do that anymore. But in my 20s, when I was breaking in, yeah, whatever, I'll do that. I'll work the night shift. But after a while, that does wear on you. So I tell people, don't stay there. Just start there. And then the other one that I think is really good, I thought about it, it was kind of like fleeting in my head, is contract work. Now, I don't want to go do contract work because I took that gamble in 2019, back in the day. So I've been doing Linux a long time, and I was the platform engineering lead for a company out here called AAA. AAA is, people think really well of AAA. It's like one of the best brand names in the US for roadside assistance and stuff, right? And I was their platform engineering lead for Linux and Windows. And I left on a gamble kind of to Best Western as their Ansible architect, but I was a contractor for a few months. They loved me. I was supposed to stay with them. COVID hit. They let all their contractors go. Didn't care if they liked them or not. So remember, COVID hit. Well, COVID hit the U.S. in March of 2020, and I got let go. Even though I'm like a professional, I've been around a long time. They liked me. They just couldn't support it. So, anyways, yeah. So then I landed over at Redline, and I've been doing Redline pretty much ever since. I did go back to AAA for a little bit and became their red team lead for a little bit. But yeah, where I'm going with that though is contract work early on in your career is excellent because you're like, okay, I'm starting out. You're almost always building new stuff, which is awesome. You're touching new technologies. You're building up a resume, and it'll show you jumping around a little bit on your resume, but you've got a reason, right? It was a 6-month contract. It was a 1-year contract, but it kind of is like, it's like building up your resume a little bit, but again, it is a little bit of feast and famine. But if your option was that or just sitting around for 2 years finding work in a hard economy, I would rather do contract work. So I do tell people like contract. Oh, I love what I do, Agent. I do like exactly what I intend to with high performance compute for sure. Yeah, I just build systems out. That's all I do. Let me get this out of the way because that's kind of blocking chat a little bit. Anyway, so if you do the Ansible stuff, it'll keep walking you through. Shows you how to do stuff and read around in there. But anyways, yeah, for people learning how to do this stuff, you need to get some skills in whatever your field is. You need to learn the job or learn what people say about the job. Like in admin work, you're mostly doing. I have a thing on this. Hold on. Show you guys what admin work kind of looks like to start. This is a old topic for me, but I'll still pull it up. Where do I have that? I don't remember. It's one of these two. I think it's this one. No, this is a different talk. This is a different talk. We were doing golden images and stuff. Hold on, let me see if I can find this talk. It's not really talk. It's just a that's streaming. So maybe it's over in Linux sysadmin. So this is getting into the Linux engineering field. This is a talk that I kind of do with the guys. So this is the PPDIO deployment methodology, which some of you heard me say earlier that I did Cisco. This comes directly from Cisco. It's the prepare, plan, design, implement, operate, and optimize. And typically the way sysadmins get on this carousel is over here. Sysadmins tend to start in the operations field. You're doing what's called KTLO, or keeping the lights on, right? And keeping the lights on is like network operations, security operations, help desk. These are the things that, you come into an environment, you're not making big changes, you're not doing big change management type work. You are just keeping the lights on. You're keeping the systems moving forward. You're keeping, your work tends to come from monitoring things and making sure alerts don't cause systems to crash. Trouble tickets from users that need access to things or permissions, and maybe you're deconflicting permissions within a group, or you're adding software to an environment, those kind of things. Code reader, that's also fair, I think. Yeah, trying to get into small companies where they usually hire baseline experience, yes. Or a company that just needs a Linux admin, and then you're going to get to touch a lot of other things because it's kind of smaller. I've done roles like that, and just kind of, I did high performance. I worked for a company called Caris for a while there. And in Caris, it's CARIS, which is a cancer research. I ran their high performance compute, but since I was their Linux guy, I also had about 70 other Linux servers that I maintained in a couple of different environments. And it's like, that's a fine little environment to get into. You get to run all the high performance compute, touch all that stuff, and then I also did all the Linux. Well, high performance compute is also mostly all Linux as well. In fact, I don't know anybody that does high performance compute on Windows. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I've never seen it in my career. And then I tell people all the time, if you're doing operations, you should focus on optimizing. How do you do things better? And you say, well, how am I gonna? I'm just some lowly guy who reads documentation. Okay, is the documentation wrong? Update it. Right? Do you got a media wiki or some kind of internal wiki page? Be the person who has touched a bunch of those things and fixed them. If you work operations in third shift, and you notice that there's like some stopgap to keep a system from filling up because you're cleaning logs and this kind of stuff, write a little doc on it and put it up in the wiki, and then make sure that you send out an email and kind of train people on it. Yeah, Robdom, I think documentation is one of the most important skills in this, right? And if people see you optimizing things and making things better and doing that, you're eventually going to work off of the third shift. Third shift is mostly, again, just you're looking at monitors all day, right? You're basically in here just watching the screen, make sure it's all green. Is everything green? Go back to sleep. Check a minute later. You're like a cron tab. Cron wakes up between the 1st and the 5th second of every minute, checks to see if there's anything due, and then it goes on. And it either executes or waits until the next minute. Making sure logs are happening, right? Maybe in an environment. Maybe you're checking to make sure that servers are up and things are processing, that kind of stuff. There's all kinds of things that you can kind of monitor. So where did my thing go? Oh, so anyways, yeah, and then if you're doing this admin stuff over here, then you start to get into maybe like engineering and slightly into some architecture stuff, where maybe you're starting to prepare the research of new technologies and building out proof of concept and minimal viable product type things, MVPs. And then you start to plan, how do we integrate it and how do we get that into our system, and when do we do it? When is our design window or our change window, right? And then you plan out and build. Design tends to be, in documentation, we have a thing called artifacts. Big part of design is artifacts. And you get used to building out what we call artifacts of, like in my environment, in these over here, these images are artifacts. They're stored. I think they changed them. They're stored here as the unchanged image, but then here in the provision, they might have changed this. Here's the images that are ready to be pushed to the actual systems. And you might say, are they always the same? No, they actually can have drift. You can make changes up here, but not build the images again. So this is a thing to understand, right? But anyways, my point is design has artifacts, and these artifacts tend to be, we tend to keep like SHA or MD5, typically SHA 256 nowadays, sums of these so that if they're changed, we know. And you say, well, do you manually go do a SHA 256 on each of these? No. We might use something like the tool AID to ensure that that's the advanced intrusion detection environment for Linux. We might use AID to make sure that these haven't changed. And if one of these does get recompiled and changed, I want to know, right? Anyways, my point is we do these kind of things over on design, and then implement, right? Like hands-on steps to build stuff. We build our build books, we build our run books. Run books are over here for operations, but as things change, as we do things, we want to push. This should actually have a cycle back to our build books, where our build and our run books change over time, because that drift, that difference there really starts to cause differences and problems when we have to redeploy things after catastrophic errors. So I'm just showing all that to say, like, there's a lot to this, and I really do think that if you want to get into the fields, you got to learn what the job is. So then you say, well, how would you learn that job? Like, I can't go read. There's not a lot of blog posts on that specific stuff. This is where you have to go find engineers to sit with. We've got Professional Linux Users Group. There's all kinds of other great communities out there. I tell people all the time, like, if you don't find, if you're like, hey, I can't listen to this Scott guy for one more frickin' second, fair. I get it. I have people I cannot listen to on the internet. Then find somebody. I tell people, find somebody to sit with, right? Find somebody to hang out with and talk shop, talk about systems engineering, talk about, there's people who, there's groups out there of just people who want to do just tidal pressure and that's all they want to do. They just want to, look, I'll show you a group of them right here. I had to install this recently. ADC-IRC, this is a tool that I installed on NOAA systems a while back. All these guys do, if you go get involved with this community, ADC-IRC, so it's an advanced circulation, right? All this tool does is deal with tidal pressures and in and out type shores and that kind of stuff. This is just, and then you go and you get this on there, you do whatever. I actually have to check that install here, but you can go read about the architecture and how it works. And maybe you're one of these guys who likes to, you're like, oh, I was looking for an open source project. These are all open source projects, right? ADC-IRC is open source, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And it deals with colleges and all this other stuff. And you get to be an expert in this type of tool, and you might find yourself over there doing, you might find yourself eventually sliding into one of those research roles if that's interesting to you. But again, I tell people all the time, find what's interesting to you. You don't have to do Linux just for the sake of doing Linux. We do Linux because it's a vehicle for all kinds of different types of engineering. I really do think that Linux is like a base for a lot of people to get into all kinds of different stuff that they like to do. So, find other people that are doing this stuff and find stuff that's interesting for that. You do have to put together a resume. There's no way around that. But I think that people, I think you should cater it to the specific job posting. So if a job wants you to have information around a tool like SPAC or something, SPAC is a tool that we use to install software on high performance compute environments. I think that you should spend time and learn how to use SPAC then, right? If that's part of it. Or if they tell you, hey, we use this tool Slurm here, and you're like, I don't even know what Slurm is. There you go. I think personal website's fine. Yeah, any way you can show somebody that you have, that you have the if you were like some of my friends here, even some of the people in chat here are front-end devs, right? Some of you guys are back-end devs. Some of you guys do Linux. I would definitely say find some project that's interesting to you, build it out, and then be able to talk to it. And this is a big part of why we were talking about this right before you guys rated in, how I have a lot of friends. I would say I probably have a lot of friends in the Discord that are smarter than me. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I know for certain that I can talk to the things that are on my resume. Let me pull something up here real quick for you guys. Where do I have that? I think I just have it right here. Here's my generic short resume. This is my Het Tanis resume, right? And this is accurate, but all the numbers are changed. So like the things that are right are my GitHub and the Killer Coda stuff. But this is like the way that I kind of present myself to the industry. But so I have to give this caveat here, and I say this not to be super Chad about it, but just because I try to level set. So people are like, well, Scott, you don't have good expectations about what's going on in the industry. And I tell you, you're right. I don't, because the last 10 jobs I've gotten were people reaching out to me. But that's also because I try to have a good name in the industry. But where I'm going with that is this is still what mine looks like, right? 22 years in systems engineering, 17 years in teaching systems engineering, security, and automation at the post-secondary. That's the college level. So that's kind of like a level set to people for what I do, right? Then I have my industry certifications and things that I think people might care about. And then I go to maybe languages that I feel comfortable in and that I will be able to show people if they want to ask me about them. I can write or talk about any of these languages here. Conference presentations that I've done and the size of them. That one's a couple years old, so I might get that out of there. But then I have my experience. I have my jobs going back 10 years, at least 10 years. In this case, I'm about 16, 17 years. So I could pull some of these off. And then I have my college education. And I keep my resume at one page. If you're in the middle of your career as an engineer, I think you can go up to 3 or 4 pages, but that's a separate topic for most people. If people were like, hey, Scott, I'm like 10 years in the industry and I can't fit on one page, I say I didn't either. I have old resumes that are like, not 6, they're like about 3 or 4 pages, but they explain what I was doing in a technical way that somebody that was looking for that would be looking for it. I think most people, if they're hiring entry level or later in your career, they're not really considering so much of the like smaller pieces of it. They just really want like just the facts, I guess. Yeah, I would say the last 10. But if you have a bunch of jobs in there, I would maybe consolidate them down a little bit. That's my thoughts on it. But yeah, I have the 2 that I'm currently doing. And actually, see, this is older because it was when I was over at the platform engineering lead. I haven't been in that one for a while. And I was their red team lead when I finally left there. But then my education, I'm going to be putting the PhD on there. I don't know if I don't think I'm going to finish it this year. I think I'm going to defend it in 2027. So I'll be putting that up there eventually. But again, I don't lead with that. That's the last thing people see on my resume, right? Because I think that what you can do and what you know how to do, and these are certs that I either have that are current or older, these are the things that I think are interesting that people want to talk to me about, right? So ask when you're comfortable with language. Are you saying you're proficient with them? Yeah, for me, Robodom, yeah. And if somebody were to ask me about it, I would be able to talk to it and be able to give an answer. I would probably not want to code Python from scratch in front of somebody, but if they were to ask me about like things I've done with Python, I could explain to things that I've fixed or edited or Ansible, things that I've contributed back in modules to fix things, that kind of stuff. I can talk to all those kind of things, right? So yeah, and mostly it's just I would be able to say, Robodom, that you understand how it works and maybe you can give a couple of examples of things you've done with it, right? So that's my kind of take on that, or my ideas on that. So all right. So yeah, so that's kind of a little walk around. I was mostly walking that around for people that came in on the raid, so you guys could kind of see what we do around here. Yeah, pay short. I think that's fine. 2 years. I think 2 years is fine. If you're starting out in your career, and I tell people this too, if you're just getting out of college, but you spent like 4 years at a coffee shop and you maybe moved up to be a manager or something, that's still good. I mean, that's not what I would lead with, right? Because that's not my most important thing. If I was just starting out, my most important thing would be my college degrees. But for me, I try to emphasize this with you guys, I don't think college is the most important thing to get in this field. I really think it's the ability to sit down, work through things. If somebody puts me at a terminal in front of 20 other dudes, I'll still do the same work. Like if we're trying to troubleshoot things, and if somebody's like, hey, somebody get on the system and pull it up on screen, and we'll do a quick session. I'll pull up my screen and do it. Like that doesn't bother me. And I'm not saying that that's a skill you have to have or a thing you have, but I think you should be comfortable doing that if you need to. Like you should be that comfortable with your command line that you can do it in front of other engineers and admins at the minimum, right? And be able to walk through what's happening and that kind of stuff. Have jobs and college education on the resume. In my opinion, experience speaks louder than education. I agree with that. Yeah, I think experience is huge. I really do, because I've tried to explain this to my college students for many years. Nobody's just going to go, oh, you got a college degree? Let me throw money at you. That's not how this life works, right? Like you get your college degree and then now you have to go do the job, right? You have to know how to do this stuff. You have to be able to RTFM and read the field manual and figure it out, right? I'm missing stuff over on YouTube. Sorry. Hey, first time on your live. I'm 25, studying cybersecurity and networks with a hands-on networking background, Cisco, all that stuff. Good. Feeling lost, which path to follow? Any advice? Well, if you want to do Linux, Sitekeeper, let me show you this. And if you're Linux and you're doing cybersecurity, let me show you. We have a couple of courses, but the security course focuses, if you do the security engineering course with us, if you're already doing Linux, this one is going to tie you towards these things right here. Build standards, building Linux boxes, securing networks once you got your system up and built correctly. And when I say built correctly, I'm saying building to a standard like a NIST standard, now National Institute of Standards and Technology. There's the STIGs, Secure Technical Implementation Guidelines, and then also the CIS benchmarks, although we focus on the course in STIGs. Secure network, get our user access and systems going, so get users on. In that one, we actually use LDAP and show how to connect to LDAP. And then bastions are air gapping systems and jailing users, and then all this kind of stuff. Anyways, this is all hands-on. So if you're saying like, hey, came from a technical degree, networks, and now pursuing your engineering degree. Yeah, this security engineering course, I'll link this to you guys. This one is, again, they're all free. But this one is my one that kind of really shows you guys how to build these things out. And if you're like, well, what does that then look like? Let's get past the course project. That's what the final project looks like. Table of contents. Let's go to intro. So build standards and compliance. Talks about the different frameworks you might run into. And then I got the lab here. This is my YouTube recording on it. But then here's a discussion post. And if you do the course with us when we run it again, you do have to participate in the discussions each week. That's the only thing that's like, everything else is kind of on your own, but this is one that you have to work with others. Because again, I tell people, your work as an engineer is not going to be done in the dark like it used to be. We used to just keep the Linux systems running and nobody bugged us. But now, like, the things you do are going to be pushed up to GitHub, and there's going to be pull requests, and there's like all these things you need to know how to do that you didn't need to know how to do when I got into this field. 10 years ago, if you'd told me to like train all my guys on GitHub, I'd have probably kicked you out of the meeting. But nowadays it's like, and it wasn't far after that, probably like 2018, 2019, we were really focusing on pushing all of our work up, Ansible Tower, which has become Ansible Automation Platform, can just pull stuff run all your stuff right out of GitHub. I have examples of that on my GitHub. We're not going to go to it right now. But anyways, coming in here, and then you get into the lab, right? So build standards and compliance. What does the lab look like? Well, there's a little bit of familiarizing yourself with the system, and then I make you go download the STIG viewer so that you can look at what the STIGs look like. And the STIG viewer kind of looks like this, and it shows you the Secure Technical Implementation Guideline for MariaDB. And in this case, we're going to lock down MariaDB to only allow so many max connections from any one user. And then you go and you validate, was it correct? Can I change it to be correct? And then can I document that? And you might say, well, that sounds really boring. Well, that's security engineering, man. Security engineering is taking this overly lax system that allows a bunch of people to connect and do different things and starting to lock down different pieces of it without breaking the system, right? So anyways, there's that. Somebody said I'm coming up on 20 years in the industry, high school dropout and doing fine, all experience. Yeah, I think experience is great. I got a brother who, he dropped out of high school. He did finish up his what do they call that? Like a what's that called when you don't get your normal diploma, but you go and you still finish? There's a term for that. Hi Haku, how's it going? What's that called? GED. Yeah, my brother got his GED. My brother he's an infrastructure engineer 6 at his company. That's the highest it goes before they make him an architect. So to that point though, yeah, I think you can still get into this without the college. Is college helpful? It's what I call it a positive differentiator. It's great. But could you just do this stuff and learn this job and understand how to do this? Yes. One other thing I want to emphasize for people that start to do the course or start to look at it, the goal of the security engineering course is not to make you a checkmark monkey. I don't want you to just go and implement all of the STIGs on a box and go, well, I'm done. Because here's the thing, and I talk about this in the course, but I'll say it now too. The thing about secure technical implementation guidelines, and there's like 460 of them for RHEL 9 right now. There's like 460 something of them. We could push a button with Ansible and turn them all on. Like so it's like all these common security technical guidelines, they're well known. We could just turn them all on. But why don't we? Why doesn't the operating system that knows that all those vulnerabilities are there not just turn them all on? Well, it's this thing called usability. There's this old dichotomy called security is the enemy of productivity. And it's not to say that security is bad. Security is a very valuable thing. It's that I am slowed down by having to do multi-factor authentication everywhere. I am slowed down by having to log in to my desktop every time I go to work. I am slowed down by having to have a badge that I check in to get into work. But does it secure the system? Yes. Well, so the reason I say that is most operating systems are designed for the average person to use, not to be locked down for our engineering purposes and our production level and for our PCI DSS compliance or our whatever compliance we're trying to adhere to. So this course, while it does show you how to lock things down, the goal is to understand that I can lock this thing down, but why do I want to ensure that there's only one MariaDB connection from the root user at any given time? Is there actually a business case for that? Or can I make a business case that, well, I actually have 4 processes that could be connecting at any given time. So my team is going to make the maximum connections 5 en route. And your STIG failure only says as long as it's 0, which is an unlimited amount. So we can't have an unlimited amount of root connections. Well, duh, right? We can't do that. So I'll set it to 5. We'll have it documented as part of our standard, and that will adhere to the compliance that we needed or whatever. And there you go. So thank you, buddy. Is making things and putting them public like this the best option? I mean, Agent, I think it depends on what you're trying to do. Wait, hold on. I missed something. I missed a question here. Make sure I'm doing this by putting it as a project on my resume and creating GitHub repo with my playbook. Yeah, I think that you should have your GitHub link on your, especially for some of you guys that are software people. Some people hang out here that are software engineers. I think you kind of have to do that, right? I think you have to have that. So, yeah. But 0 point. That's how my brother is. My brother is a very successful engineer, and he didn't school didn't resonate with him. He was busy doing other stuff. And actually, there's another thing. I mean, long story, but he got kicked out of my dad's house when he was 14, and I was 24. I had just come home from the Army, so I had him come live with me. So my brother's been. It's funny. He's my younger brother by 10 years, but he's kind of like my adult son because he basically lived with me from the time he was 14 up until he kind of went off on his own, joined the Army and that kind of stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I just showing you guys around the thing. I didn't really get, if you're looking at all this, I didn't really get much of anything done today. I just kind of have been showing you guys around the environments and the different things that are going on. This is how you get access to the lab environment here. But yeah, we'll probably find somebody to raid real quick over here on YouTube. I'll probably, or not YouTube, sorry guys. YouTube we just kind of dropped. But I definitely appreciate everybody coming by. We'll raid somebody over on Twitch because we got a lot of stuff. Oh, I got a big question here. Omar, he said, depending on the institute itself, to be honest. In my case, unis are basic memorizing. Cat LS, yeah, also some DB internal. I didn't learn much, guys. I had one Linux class in college. I did not learn a lot about Linux. I learned most of mine in the wild, which is why I try to show you guys stuff that our whole group, everybody that's kind of like senior in our group, we're trying to make the path a little more sloped and gentle than what we went through, because most of us dealt with a lot of shit coming up. So, summarize basic coding in the exams themselves, got wrong questions, and security. Security, OWASP is huge. OWASP top 10, big thing to understand whether you're doing software engineering or systems engineering for sure. Yes, and what and I use mostly for documentation. That's awesome. Payshort, we have a couple of guys in our Discord. In fact, I always call them out when we're doing meetings. When we start this next Linux admin course, if any of them show up, I'd love to, if I can get their permission too, I'd love to just show you guys their note taking. We have a few guys who are really good at note taking. I think Colchis is one of them, Treasure's one of them, and these guys, when they like when we talk or lecture or do whatever, they're just always writing notes on the course and stuff. In fact, a lot of their stuff worked its way into the course because their notes were just so good. I'm like, it's better than what I made. So then we use a lot of their stuff. All right, all that to say, you guys are always welcome to hang out, look around, all that kind of stuff. I'll probably call it here, but for people that want to on the Discord side, we'll go raid somebody. But yeah, you guys are always welcome to hang out. The Discord's the most persistent place to kind of hang out with me and that kind of stuff. And let's go find somebody to raid over on the Twitch side. We'll go ahead and stop over on the YouTube side, but I definitely